Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Martin. I'm the Vice President of the British Columbia Regimental Drum Major Association. We're the parent organization that puts on the world-renowned British Columbia Regimental Drum Major course and the brand new for 2026 British Columbia Regimental Pipe Majors course. And we have with us, of course, Pipe Major Scott Methven, who is the Queen's Piper, the 15th Sovereign's Piper, if I have that correct. And I think everyone knows a little bit about you, and we've got plenty of resources out there. But you want to just take a minute and introduce yourself, Scott?
Absolutely, Brian. Thank you for having me on today. My name is Scott Methven. I am the 15th, as Brian said correctly, Sovereign's Piper since 1843. I did 26 years in the military. I was the Pipe Major of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. I was Pipe Major at the Army School of Piping and Highland Drumming, and also my penultimate appointment was, of course, as the 15th Sovereign's Piper. I have two children, and I reside just outside Stirling, which is the home of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, and I currently just teach full-time, and I'm also Pipe Major of a Grade 3 pipe band, which is now the City of Stirling Pipe Band. So I do that as well, and they're a Grade 3A band at the moment, and we're obviously, last season we clubbed the pipe band together, and hopefully we'll be a wee bit better organised this year.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like the Argylls are going to be taking over Western Canada in May, huh?
Well, hopefully, yeah.
You and Bill, yep.
All right.
All right, so on the drum major course, we talk a lot about sort of the role of the drum major, what it means to be a drum major. So can you talk a little bit about what the role of pipe major means to you? What does it mean to be a pipe major?
Well, it's funny you asked that, Brian, because in the military, we do focus a lot on the management of a pipe band. And I don't think it's something that's really looked at now. It's always the playing ability of the individual who's the pipe major. But it's not just about that, is it? You know, the same as a drum major, you've got to have the ability to be able to get on with a drum corps. And I do believe that pipers are very guilty of the old cliche being drummers are pipers, labourers. And you know, when I was younger, I kind of believed that as well. And where everything changed for me is, I, of course, wasn't just a military piper. I was a civilian piper before I was ever in the military. You know, I learned at school, and where I actually learned the most about building relationships within a pipe band setting was actually when I played in shots. And when I was lucky enough to have Robert Matheson as my pipe major and Jim Kilpatrick as my leading drummer. So I've been really spoiled with exceptional leading drummers, I must admit.
Yeah.
And I seen how they work together, and it was clear that a pipe band is a pipe corps and drum corps, and it isn't just a pipe corps and drum corps, you know, and then suddenly we get together. It's a working relationship. Now, that has to be a good relationship, and it's about man management. It's a job, and I think that's where most pipe bands nowadays actually fail, because, as I said, they just look at the playing ability. Then that is kind of, it goes without saying, doesn't it? You know, you're a good piper, you can be a good pipe major. Not always the case, all right? I think it's very important that the man management is looked at in depth, and that's what we're going to do on this course, hopefully. We're going to look at the roles of the pipe major and the drum major or leading drummer. And it's really, it has to be defined, and you've got to be clear, and you've got to understand the different areas, your strengths and weaknesses, like we would in any other job. You know, I'm not brilliant at everything. So, as the military, we always say, there's a fine line between delegation and laziness.
Sure.
And it's such a true term, but it's also about saying, look, I am not necessarily great at buying all the equipment and stuff, and it's about delegating it out to people that you know is going to be the best at that particular task, and that's really important. And it is a learned process. You know, I used to have some pipers. I had one piper in particular, and you know, he wasn't the greatest of piper, but I'll tell you what, he was fantastic at setting up drones. His thing was drones, right? And I asked him, would you help the young members with their setup of their bagpipe and stuff? Yeah, of course I will, right? And that empowered him. And suddenly I get an extra 5% that I didn't believe was capable out of that individual piper, because he's empowered within that band, and he suddenly he feels he has an important role, which it was, and everybody's bagpipes were going better. And it just has that trickle effect. You just go around everybody individually. It's like a sports team, a hockey team or a football team or what have you. You go out there and you identify their strengths. You allow them to flourish, and suddenly, do you like the wee drumming connection there? They can flourish away, and then and suddenly you get an extra 5-10% out of that person, and he wants to come to your practices. He wants to be more involved in the band, and that's what it's about. And taking your time to hopefully work with everybody within the pipe band.
I think that's the perfect answer. It's really all about leadership, and that empowering other people is a huge part, and delegation, knowing how to delegate, I think is a huge part of leadership, and that's a lot of what I think is missing, at least in sort of the local pipe bands I see, is the pipe major is generally the person who has been with the band the longest, or the guy who's just willing to tap his foot, but not understanding that leadership component, and also the band cohesiveness, not looking at the band as an ensemble. I'm the pipe major, I'm in charge of pipes, and drummers do whatever they do. So I'm really glad to hear you say that. Yeah. The being able to listen to the ensemble, pair them together, and know how that really works.
Yeah.
So that's great. So this, obviously is not a piping course, it's a pipe majors course, so it's for leaders. So I think that is a huge component of it. So you're probably going to see some experienced pipe majors and some maybe brand new pipe majors or aspiring pipe majors, right? So who would you say this course is for? Kind of for everybody who wants to step into that role?
I think so. I think it's for everybody, whether you're, as you say, an aspiring pipe major, or you're a pipe major in his own right, but thinks, what do they do in the military? How does a military pipe major act? How come this pipe band, when you see a military pipe band, whether it be the Scots Guards, whether it be the Argyll's and Highlanders, the Highlanders, whoever it may be, how do they manage to just be there? Pipes are good. Yes, they might not be the best pipe bands in the world, and we used to be, but we're not now, and that's for a myriad of reasons. That's due to operational tempo. We don't get to just play bagpipes anymore. You might be out digging trenches at, out in Canada at Medicine Hat, Medman 7, -57, in 1991. That's what my battalion, I remember, absolutely horrendous. And then the next day, you've got fingers like feet, and you're expected to go and play the pipes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's absolutely terrible. But my point is, the pipe majors, now it's about, making sure that they've got the proper equipment. It's about dress and deportment as well, because that's not just the drum majors department. That's everybody's individually, and we'll work on that as well. Every day, not about, don't panic. I'm not going to send you all to the jail, but the point is, if we're coming in kilts, then you should know how to wear your kilt. You should know that you should be smart. Your leg dress should be smart every single day, and that's about teaming up. Right, you don't do your own leg dress. You have a buddy system, the same as you would probably in the fire service, or if you were a firefighter, or learning to be in the police or whatever. You buddy up, and that's important, because it's the other. If you have somebody else with you, then they can make sure your leg dress is perfect, right? And that's what it's about. It's about being proud. With pipe bands, what's the first thing that happens in any pipe band, right? Is visual. And that's so important, because let's be honest, vast majority of people out there are not experts, right? And yes, it might sound a wee bit ropey, right? But you can win with your eyes as well. If that pipe band looks absolutely spot on, then and they look professional, right? Standing there, I always used to remember top pipe bands who looked the best. Well, if I think the civilian pipe bands, I always used to think Strathclyde Police looked fantastic, because They looked really smart, and they were a formed body, and their leg dress was perfect. You know, it's about, my goodness, look how good they are, and that's before they start playing. You know, and that's so important, and that's everybody's responsibility, and it's the pipe majors as well. It's all very well to say, "Oh, it's the drum major's bag." No, it's not. You know, and it's all, defining all these different roles from a pipe major's point of view, and that for me is really, really important. You know, you go through, you know, theory as well, of piping, all the rest of it. You've got to have a good knowledge base, history of piping as well. You should be knowledgeable about your own pipe band. Mm-hmm. You know, if somebody comes and asks you about a pipe band, well, I don't know. I don't know when my pipe band was started. You know, you just look foolish, you know. And it's important that you know the history of the uniform that you're wearing. You know, why do people like to have the bottom button undone on the waistcoat? You know, and there's a reason behind that. You know, one of the kings, it was to do with pies. It goes all back. You know, it's all these things that they are reasons for lots of different things. And they're also bluffers as well. I remember, I'll give you one quick story. My pipe major, 1st Battalion Afghanistan Highlanders, we were in Germany, and this is a true story, and he forgot his sporn. And he was that confident, he went out and played without his sporn on. Right? We're all standing there, full number 1 uniforms, 1st Battalion Afghanistan Highlanders, without a word of a lie. Brian, you wouldn't have believed it. And this guy was, you know, he was a bold character. And this gentleman went up to him and says, "Pipe major, you forgot to put your sporn on." He says, "No." He says, "In 1873, in a made-up battle," he says, "the pipe major's sporn was blown off." He says, "Without a word of a lie." He says, "And on this day, whatever we are doing, the tradition is the pipe major should never wear a sporn." He walked away from him. You know,
that was beautiful,
right? And that's without a word of a lie, right? And
yeah.
Without a word of a lie, but it's a complete lie.
You just got to say it with confidence.
Absolutely. And it's about, but it's, you know, all joking aside, it is about knowing your own history of your pipes and drums, and I think that's really important as well. But it all goes back to sort of bearing and you know, your gait, your deportment, all the rest of it. And I think it's really, really important. I think it is overlooked. And there are just more aspects than just playing for a pipe band. And I think that's where pipe majors get a bit kind of overwhelmed, and again, it's just maybe putting strategies in there to try and support you. And I've done it all day. You know, this is not. I'm giving you. I'll be giving them all ideas about how you should run a pipe band, because that's really important, because we did it full time. You know, and we've played all over the world, and again that brings up new problems, you know, logistics and all that side of things. So it's good to look at all the aspects of pipes and drums, and especially, I suppose, with Canadians, because if you're going to go and compete, you've got to get, you know, well, Canada's huge, isn't it? So I'm not going to have to tell you. But if you're going to go to Scotland, you know, logistically, it's a bit of a nightmare. And I've travelled all over America. I've been lucky enough to have been to all over Canada, and I absolutely loved it. You know, I've been to about 49 states. In America, and I've been right over Canada, you know, whether that be with the military or playing the pipes, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, it's going to be looking at all aspects of the role of a pipe major, whether playing, as I said, just to recap, just all dress and deportment, and actual man management of a pipe band.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Yeah, I really like to hear you say that too. It's you know, the reason we call it the Regimental, you know, pipe majors course, because that's exactly what this is. You know, it's sort of targeted towards those service band type. You know, whether it's military, fire department, police, the service band, and so there may be some pipe majors who come on the course from competition bands, and they'll probably pick something up too, and I think that's great. But definitely the target is that service band kind of mentality. So looking sharp, looking your best. That's an important part of it. So I appreciate that. So the students essentially can, like you say, expect to work on their leadership, their dress, deportment, maybe get into a bit of drill.
100%. And I think drill is really important. You know, I don't know how long I marched about a parade square not playing. You know, it's because you need to understand how you look, not just, you know, without an instrument, And actually, it's really important, and that's when you catch people out. Actually, that's when you see people don't have any sense of timing, as if they march without an instrument, and it can catch them out.
That's true.
Because the obvious thing is just to fold your pipes down, have them under your arm, and you're marching, don't you? But leave the pipes at the side and actually do some proper marching.
Yep.
And it's really important, and it's little things. If you sometimes notice, especially in the Edinburgh Tattoo, I've been lucky enough to have done 13 years of Edinburgh Tattoos. I say that tongue in cheek because it's quite a shift. 26 shows or whatever it is over 13 years is quite a long time, and it's little things like when we had a military band, we would counter march differently at the bottom because they have trombones and stuff. So if you go the normal way with a pipe band, you're going straight into a trombone.
That's
things
right.
like that you go, oops. But some people don't know that, and especially young pipe majors. And when I say young, I don't mean young in years, because it's there's so many more pipers now learning pipes older, and that's what I'm quite. I used to be against.
Young and
I'll be perfectly honest. Yeah. And young, and it's more than years, but I'm very much. Sorry, is that me or you? I can hear a fast motorbike going past. It was probably.
Oh yeah, I know. That's here.
Right, I could be here as well though.
Yeah.
So it's just really important that we cover all those bases, and I think people will go away from there thinking, yeah, I've learned something there, and that's the key here. Brian, the biggest thing that I just want people, there'll be areas that I have to do better as well, and I think that's really important at the end of the week. I'm not scared of critique, and I think it's really important that we get that, and we feedback stuff that things could be better as well, and I think at the end of the week it's good to have quite a candid, open discussion about what you want to see more of. Because of course this is the first year we've done it, and I think going forward, I think it would be really, really productive to make sure that everybody on the course gets a little bit of feedback back to me and you and Bill, and hopefully it just gets better, and we come out with a package that everybody really enjoys and goes away going, do you know what? That was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed that, because that's my aim. I'm not here to hide all my knowledge. I'm here to say, look, I've been in the military for 26 years. I was in pipes and drums, obviously heavy machine guns as well. But the point is that there are loads of stuff that I can, of knowledge, that I can get across to everybody on that course. And I'll just answer every single question, absolute, to my best knowledge,
Great. So I think with that, in putting this whole thing together, I've polled a bunch of the sort of local pipe majors and even regional pipe majors I know, and kind of asked them what their expectations, hopes, and dreams for a pipe major course would be. I've gotten some feedback. I've sent that to you. So now that we have sort of our course students figured out, because the course is full, we've got the registrants, this is going out to them. If we said in this video, hey, if you have any ideas of things you would really like to see on this course as we're sort of finalizing the curriculum, does that work? If I say,
100%.
Hey, folks out there, if you have some ideas, some requests of things you'd like to see, go ahead and send them to me. You can reply to the email this comes out. I'll get them over to Pipe Major Methven, and maybe we'll see if we can roll some of those things in the course.
Yeah, Brian, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it has to be as interactive as possible. Interactive is the right word, I suppose it is, because I want people, it's got to be stuff that they need to know and they want to know, and if we can get that in there, then they're going to go away with a big happy face and just go, do you know what, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Sounds great.
And it is really, I think it'll be really enjoyable. I think everybody will go away hopefully thinking that, and it's about having as much fun as possible while doing it. And that's really the key. It's not about shouty, right? I will shout at times, but that's just because I've got wee man syndrome.
Sure.
But that's more when we're doing drill, and it's not about shouting at people. It's just getting the message across that, right, this is what we'll do, and it is really important and fun. And and that's the key. You know, pipe bands, it has to look good before you sound good, because that's the first thing you see. You know it yourself.
Yep.
Do they look smart? People don't book you or necessarily on. They want a sound, so they want a pipe band.
Yeah.
They're booking you on how you look. You know, 9 times out of 10, how is someone booking your pipe band? I bet it's through your website, right?
Yeah.
And it's about going, oh, they look really smart. That looks really cool. Are they wearing the big feather bonnets? You know, are they wearing all that sort of stuff that's becoming actually more and more like unique? You know, or do they look really smart in the old number 2 uniform or whatever? You know, do they look the part? And that's how they are. And if you can, and you can conduct yourself properly, you know, then you're halfway there, to be perfectly honest.
Fantastic. So in prepping for the course, I know a lot of the students have asked if there's going to be like music packets or anything sent out ahead of time. I know we kind of talked about it, and we want to avoid any kind of copyright issues and stuff. So we're not going to send out music packets. But is there anything that you think they should do to prep in the meantime? Is there anything required, prerequisites?
No, not really. Just I mean, we've got a whole week, so what we'll be doing is we'll actually be working quite a lot on maintenance of the instrument as well, which is a super important thing. The way we always approached it was, you have to approach your bagpipe, especially being in the military, like it's your personal weapon. You know, any piece of equipment. So if you're in the military, or you've been in the fire service, or firefighters, or police, you know, you've got your checks. Now, how many people, if we're honest, how many people just get the pipes out the box? They're maybe laid in their car all day, minus whatever, and I don't know the temperature you get to the car. That's crazy, right? I'm sure you wouldn't leave your pipes in, but I've got pipers in my band who have left their pipes out in their car all day, and it's been even just -5, and you're just like, you know, and you're coming into the band to achieve what? You know, your pipes are literally frozen, and you know, it's just conveying that message across and making sure that your maintenance is correct, and environmental constraints is a huge thing within that. Is what temperature, you know, where are you playing them? You know, Scottish weather is different for Canadian weather, but you know yourself, if you're doing a parade, you know, are your pipes going to go outside if you've been practicing all the time inside? Because your drones and stuff have to be more open, don't they? And all that side of things. And, you know, I actually remember I beat the retreat with the Queen, and it didn't go too well. I was the Sovereign's piper, and I was getting looks from everyone. It wasn't my bag, I was just there. And it went a bit awry, but I'll tell them about that in person. It's quite funny. And but it was it's just you've got to be properly prepared, or it will fall apart. And it's always at the worst point, eh? Always at the worst point. And it's never, you know, it's like that lone piper spot where the piper's drone reed falls into the bag, you know, and they can't do anything, and it's like standing there, and it's panic stations, you know. Yep. And we used to have sort of wee countermeasures to stop that, because I remember on our Plaid, I remember that when I was a young piper, I was always told to have a dummy drone reed tucked into my Plaid, have even a chanter reed, spare chanter reed. Now, I don't know what I would do with a chanter reed if it was that situation, but if it was one of your drones, and hopefully it's one of your tenors that's fallen out, then you could at least fire a dummy drone reed straight in, and you've got to do something. You can't just stand there. Get it right in, you know. And let's be honest, even if it was one drone going, it would be better than no drones. Or not better not playing, you know.
Right.
Better than not playing, should I say. You know, it's things like that, just little emergencies that you have a wee bit of, you know, a wee cork or something in your whatever. Just panic. Just standing there and doing nothing is not an answer, is it?
That's correct.
You know.
Well, yeah, then I'd say, you know, if anything for prep, just make sure you show up with functioning pipes. Make sure they're, even though you'll go over maintenance and all that kind of stuff, just make sure that they're at least playable, you know. And along with being a drum major, I'm not a pipe major, but I'm a pipe sergeant in my band. And so as a musical officer, I will say that if your if your instrument is not maintained, we know. We can tell, you know, there's no hiding it, because it doesn't play properly, it doesn't tune properly, and you run into all kinds of problems.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, and that's the key. I think it's going to be a wee bit difficult because if somebody does turn up and they're not very sure about their bagpipes, you know, at the same time, 100% we'll get them going, and we'll make sure that they are so comfortable, because that's the key. You know, people kind of. I grew up in a generation that people with pipes, we just had to literally blow our lungs out, and the head was nearly popping off the shoulders, and it was absolutely crazy, and you were worried so much about the instrument that you couldn't think about the tunes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how many times as a piper, especially when I was younger, I always remember it. I remember I would stand there and pray for the drum major to put his mace up and say, "Please stop." And then it was like, "We're not playing that again, are we?" And you're like, "Oh no!" And my lips would be going when I was young, and then I learned when I was a wee bit older that I would be standing playing, you know, and I'd be like, "Oh, I can play these no problem." You know, my pipes are going really well. I'd pulled my drones down to an extent that they were just absolutely booming, and I was like, "Yes, I'm thinking about the tunes now."
Yeah.
You know, and because if you're thinking about your instrument, you're not thinking about what you're playing. So there goes, and then further down the line, there's no expression, because it becomes like an accordion, and it's like a barrel organ at a John Wayne movie.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it starts to sound like. You know, and that's the problem. So it's important that you know, people turn up ideally with their instrument functioning to the best of their ability, and then hopefully we can get that message across to everybody that, look, you know, you should be standing there effortlessly playing your pipes, and everybody blows reeds, different reed strength. I understand that, and it's just wee things, you know, just like I always think that, you know, people who pop. I sometimes get my pipe band to pop their drones off and really almost do like a pipe practice on the chanters, pipe chanters, and get them playing, and there may be the odd piper who's a wee bit younger, and his drones keep coming back in, and they won't pop off. Yeah. And I always say to them, "Do you know why that's happening?" They say, "No." I said, "Well, because your drones are too open. They're taking too much air. You know, simple as that." And they're like, "Oh right." And you know, it's quite amazing. And I think now the biggest problem, Brian, is that people. That's what it's not a problem, but the biggest issue is everybody wants to go in bagpipes as quick as possible. So the days when I learned, it was almost an apprenticeship before you got to go in. You know, you had to have everything perfect. You had to know all 30 exercises and all the rest of it, and then you had to have 5 tunes perfect from memory, and then you would spend maybe 3 or 4 months on a goose bag and all the rest of it. But now it's a case of, I want to be on the pipes within 2 months, and and you know, so that's the problem. So you're going to miss a lot of things through those steps, you know, and it's important that hopefully we can fill some of those gaps that are missing, and that's really important.
And to your previous comment, in defense of the drum majors, if you're waiting for that mace to go up and it's not, and you're on the 12th time through that tune, there is a reason. We're not just screwing with you.
Because it's a 3/4, and you never know. It's a 3/4 march, and they never know when to cut out.
That's exactly right.
That's usually the killer, eh?
Always a 3/4.
That is it. I always used to laugh at my drum major because he would always step off on the wrong foot on a 3/4. It was brilliant, right? Because sometimes, you know, you have that thing that it's like after the rolls, step off, and it's like or is it dum, and it's like he used to get it wrong. It used to be so funny. And he said, I hate 3/4. That's what he used to always say.
Well, Green Hills, as it's written, really beat 1 should not be that. There should be a pickup beat and then beat 1 instead of
it should be exactly,
because otherwise it sounds like a 4/4. So
yes, right. No, you're absolutely correct. Well done. There we go. Right, are you quite happy with that, buddy? Aye.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic. We'll get this sent out to everybody, and we'll meet again hopefully next month for some updates.
Perfect, buddy. All right. All the best. I'll see you later, Brian.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Cheers, bud. Bye-bye. Bye, mate. Bye-bye.